Farah Maalim is sitting here with me now. You're a politician of 25 years, and Joshua Kipto is here as well. He's a lawyer. You're also a strategist for NASA, I understand?
Yes.
Excellent. I'm told you were unable to agree and the principals eventually went and arrived at that structure. Is that true?
No, it's not true.
How did you arrive at this structure?
Why do you care how we arrived at the structure? We have arrived at the structure. The structure is there for Kenyans. We did a good job ourselves with the technical team. We went through the whole simulation, basically, literally, pairing up every tool, up and down. And more or less reached a decision that showed the best shot was exactly the same team we have here now. And then handed over the responsibility or the task again to the same principals for them to sit, stay in a retreat and discuss the same, which they did. And our decision and our calculations and our simulations were not cast in stone. They came up with the same decision as the best possible pair to win these elections. And not only that, I mean, there's so many factors that come into play, and all those factors taken into consideration, we still feel that's the best shot we have at these 2017 national elections.
This came in for immediate criticism from a lot of people who are saying this is a throwback, that after 4 years, NASA came up with a ticket that already lost one election.
Now, when you talk about throwback, I think such a critic forgets the underlying theme of the new team. It is no longer just about number one and number two.
How is it a new team when it's a team that has run for presidency before and lost?
Now, you cannot reduce it just to be between the president and the deputy president. Look at it as a team, because for once, unlike the Jubilee lineup, or unlike the 2013 lineup, you have a case whereby we have a whole Pentagon structure, and not similar as 207. That's why we're saying it is different. There's inclusivity. And you can see the way from the word go, there has been sharing of positions, and it is not just for the sake of individuals, but it is for the sake of inclusivity. So that is the underlying theme. And I think we can't just reduce it and say that it's a question of who and who, but rather, is it representative of the entire country better than what we have? Do we have a better alternative? Do we have a case where Kenyans can say we look at a face for the Kenya? That is the main thing, because if you look at the individual parties, ODM has representation across the divide, Wiper in Lower Eastern and parts of Mombasa. So each party, in fact, coming in of Isaac Ruto brings in a bigger group. So it's a question of the entire lineup. So we can't. Do
you believe that Isaac Ruto does in fact bring a vote to this ticket?
When you talk about Isaac Ruto not bringing a vote, then it means you're not considering the fact that he has been the Council of Governor chair. Secondly, look at the competition even that CCM has generated in South Rift and in Narok. To the extent that ODM and CCM have to agree on the Narok, all the seats from the governor to MP.
Farah Maalim, this ticket is coming in for criticism from the very top. President Uhuru Kenyatta has, in fact, already rubbished that Raila Kalonzo ticket. He says it is the same duo that he and his deputy beat back in 2013, like I was just saying. He also says the power sharing justifies his claims that the NASA principals are after power for the sake of it.
Kama watoto ati watakuwa prime minister na deputy prime minister, katiba haina hiyo vyeo. Ati watabadilisha katiba baadaye. Ai. Mtu mzima kudanganywa mchana na anakubali.
Your reaction, sir?
Well, it just shows you a worried man. Ordinarily, if he felt that that was a good team to beat, then he would have just said, look, they have exercised their own freedom of choices, and let's get together and see who wins, who carries the day. But you see a worried person, you see somebody who has, I mean, there's a bit of, you can tell it. This is a man who was watching that thing. It's there in the social media.
Right.
Why would he give it such an importance and watch it if he didn't think that it was going to carry the day and he was going to lose? And for information, let me tell you one thing. People talk about these things. The reality of the matter is that this team never lost. We never lost in 2007. We never lost in 2013. There was massive rigging. This time we're going to have a parallel tallying process. We're going to watch our votes. That's the most important thing we're going to do.
What do you mean you're going to watch your votes? So let's hypothetically say that your tally differs from the IEBC one. Are you saying that NASA will declare its own president?
Absolutely. If the IEBC tries to rig the election again, it's finished, my friend. Our presidential candidate, if he loses fairly, fair and square, we have no problem. We'll shake the hands of all Kenyans and we tell them, look, we respect the choice of Kenyans. But if they try to do the hanky-panky business they did in 2007 and the one they did in 2013, crap, we will not accept that.
If you don't accept the outcome and you then declare your own president, will you also swear in your own president?
Absolutely, I can assure you.
Is that legal?
Well, look, it's not. It's legal to the extent that this is the winner who is being sworn.
So is that a recipe for chaos?
But why didn't you call it the same thing that was a recipe for a chaos when it was done in Gambia? When the people in Ghana were ready to do it, when people in Nigeria were ready to do it. In Ivory Coast, Alassane Ouattara, they had two of them, and if they were going to try and bring this nonsense, they were going to do it. This is the end of the road for people who think that they can subvert, hijack, intimidate, and usurp the will of the people. No.
Maybe a quick answer to what the president was saying about the structures not being in the constitution.
Yes.
I think that is where, again, we need to look at the detail. Look at the position. They are not just called prime minister, deputy prime minister. Rather, they are called prime cabinet secretary, deputy prime cabinet secretary. And in fact, they are specific in the sense that they have particular portfolios. If you look at the clustering and info.
So are they just glorified cabinet secretaries then?
They are not glorified. No, you can't say glorified if you have substantive portfolio under you. When you talk about Isaac Ruto being in charge of governance and devolution, that is not glorified, that is substantive, because devolution as it stands right now is a significant ministry. So you can't talk about them being unconstitutional, yet it's a question of, in fact, the constitution under Article 132 provides that the president he has executive authority. So the only difference here is it is already agreed between the principals. So the president in waiting only comes in and executes and implements the same thing. Then secondly, when you talk about the tallying process, we also need to identify a fact about our constitution. It says that that the sovereignty lies with the people. Absolutely. And a democracy is only a democracy as long as the voice of the people is heard. If you've looked at the party primaries, one key element, in fact, before we came here, you mentioned about independent candidates.
Yes.
Why are we having a rise in that? Because if the process is not free, if the process is not fair, there's an alternative. So if you look at an opposition that is more organized and says we have a parallel, we have a tallying which is different from IEBC, it is not to usurp. It is basically to complement. And if it complements, it means we have a process that is free and fair. And you know, the tallying will be done openly. It won't be under the guise of darkness. So as long as the will of the people is respected, then you have it. In fact, I have a problem when you talk about chaos if we have a free and fair process. Chaos comes in the absence of a free and fair process. Yes, as long as the election is fair, we shouldn't even talk about peace, because peace is guaranteed.
Farah, listen to this for a moment. There was a sense of disquiet in NASA constituent parties in the run-up to that announcement that appears to have grown into outright rebellion right now, because National Assembly minority and Wiper leader Francis Nyenze has been at the forefront among those in his party who wanted a Kalonzo as a bearer for that ticket and nothing else. Nyenze now appears to be working with others in this nascent and open rebellion against his party leader. Let's listen.
I was in the negotiating team, and up to the last minute, Kalonzo was to be the flag bearer. Up to the last minute. How it changed the night they signed, we were all taken aback.
I was not involved in the negotiations. I don't even know what the agreement says. And so, to me, whatever they have agreed, I am a stranger to it. And I think most of members of our team, including members of parliament, including the leading negotiator, appears not to be aware of what the contents of that document are.
Your reaction, Farah Maalim?
Look, we were all initially justified in mooting for a candidate of one's own choice. I pushed for a Kalonzo ticket, just like Nyenze and the others. And there was also pushing for a Raila ticket. But at the end of the day, we had to have a a system that was very scientific, very, very, very professional indeed. And in the final analysis, again, the last word was the word of the leaders themselves. So we went in there as agents of the leaders. We did our bit. It's understandable, and I don't fault my friend Nyenze for being fairly vociferous in his own convictions. But you see, we have to move on now. That's water under the bridge now. And the party leader himself, who Nyenze is very loyal to, says that this is the best deal we are able to put together, and we will move on. And he will support Raila Odinga for the presidency, and he'll be the deputy president. And there will always be another day also for people to. It's a transitional. This is a one-time president, and by and large, everybody knows that Kalonzo will also have his moment and day actually to run for this thing. And there are many factors that come into place: age, a lot of things.
Okay, before you jump in, I just want to play that. In fact, you talked about Kalonzo because NASA's candidate for the deputy presidency and Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka insisting that the NASA deal is final and is calling for an end to the blossoming revolt within his own party.
Please ignore those statements as expressions, perhaps of Mheshimiwa Nyenze having wanted me to be the flag bearer, and I know his feelings. So, but now I have to call him to order.
Joshua, isn't it sad that he's got to make this publicly?
It is not sad because it is expected. Can I take you back in 2012, December, when Uhuru and Ruto were making the deal? In fact, before then, it was always a fact. It was always an assumed fact that Rift Valley can never support a Kikuyu candidature. And when that happened, in fact, Ruto had to do rallies across the whole province, just trying to pacify and tell the people, explaining the decision. So it is a similar thing. As my senior colleague has mentioned, it's a question of the feelings. You know, this was a competition. It is hard bargaining. Each person, each lieutenant goes for his general. So it was right for Nyenze and his team to campaign so hard, push so, in fact, even Kalonzo himself pushed hard. In an interview, he had said how he really wanted to be. So it is accepted, it is something that was expected of them. However, the only difference should be a choice has been made. A team has been already has been agreed upon. So it's a question of sacrifice. So if the principal, I'm more comfortable with the fact that the principal himself is okay with it. So we shouldn't be more, like, we are more accommodative of such an opinion, but it doesn't mean that it leads to dissent.
Farah, I just got a text from Najib Balala, the tourism CS, and he says this NASA is a fake Pentagon. All the candidates ran in 2013 and lost miserably.
He should be happy and laughing all the way to the elections because his principal is going to win. If what he feels is that we're going to lose, but I can tell you one thing, Najib Balala is facing another 5 years of being out in the oblivion. He should look for another job now because he's only got 3 more months to be a cabinet secretary under Jubilee government. And after that, he is stuck up with many years in which, unless, of course, he somersaults. I mean, too many of them do this somersaulting, and Kenyans are sick and tired of those somersaults. Okay.
Meno Wambui asks, for either of you, please ask the panelists, NASA says that it is fighting for poor Kenyans. The remedy is to create more offices?
We have not created more offices.
You have created more offices, but this previous...
It is 21. I think the person has not been able to have a look at the power sharing because it is exactly 21.
We're doing it within the Constitution. These are cabinet secretaries who will be doing certain supervision and coordination of certain sectors or certain clusters of ministries there. So we're not going to increase the cabinet numbers. It's just going to be there. And of course, then we might go ahead at a later stage. And there are a lot of things that Kenyans want to change about the Constitution. Many Kenyans believe, for example, now that cabinet should come from Parliament because they were more responsible, more accountable.
Is NASA going to do that if you win?
Yes, of course.
So the cabinet will come from Parliament again?
But that is a process. That is a constitutional process. And the final say on that and choice will be done by Kenyans.
I have to leave it there. Farah Maalim and Joshua Kipto, thank you both for coming in and helping us understand these issues.